Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to Kottabos Space Program, where today we are having a look at the Gusmobile mod, which is being made by forum user Silent Velcro, which may sound familiar because, of course, last episode we had a look at another one of Silent Velcro's mods, which added in the dinosaur space plane. And if you remember that episode, we did talk about how the dinosaur was meant to be launched via a Titan II rocket. And this particular mod of Silent Velcro's is what adds in that very Titan II rocket for you to enjoy. But not just that, we also get a Gemini capsule with all the trimmings, as well as an Agena target vehicle, which I actually had to look that one up. I really didn't know too much about it before recording, but apparently it was a big thing we put into orbit during the Gemini program to help practice orbital rendezvous, as well as docking procedures. Very cool thing. So let's jump right on into the VAB and have a look at what all this new mod by Silent Velcro does add into the game. And let's start by grabbing ourselves a Gemini command pod, as well as a Mark I command pod for size comparison's sake, and then of course turn on our mod filters so all we see is lonesome robots. And there we are, our beautiful comparison. Now of course the Gemini is quite a bit bigger than our Mark I command pod, and for good reason. Of course the Mark I command pod is meant to just have one Kerbal inside, whereas our Gemini command pod is designed for two, a minimum though of at least one, and along with that we have a built-in data transmitter. It does have a generator turning 0.3 per minute monopropellant into 6 per minute electric charge. It surprisingly is a lifting surface considering it's a capsule, not something we typically see in this game for those. And also of course does have a reaction wheel, crew report, about 100 electric charge in there, and a tiny little amount of 10 monopropellant. Overall a very, very good little capsule with all you need to send up some Kerbals into orbit. Beautiful. So let's lose the Mark I command pod, and unlike last episode, we're actually just going to go straight through all the parts rather than building various things, because, well, in this one it's a little bit different. Last time we basically had a space station and a space plane. This time we have a rocket, a capsule, and, well, I guess technically an unmanned space station. So we're just going to go through all the parts, and then I'll show you with them all together later. So the other command pod that we have in here is the Agena probe core, because, again, that Agena target vehicle was meant to be unmanned. They just park it in orbit and use it for procedures. And it's a beautiful little command pod there. As you can see, some very nice texturing and modeling work to it, though it looks like a, actual picture of some piping there, which is interesting. I actually hadn't noticed that before. Very fun indeed. But yes, some nice texturing otherwise besides of that, and it's basically just a cylinder. And this probe core is, of course, unmanned, has built-in data transmitter, does have a reaction wheel SAS, and a 300 electric charge for you to use, which is always convenient. Now let's move down into fuel tanks, and we have 3 in here, 2 specifically for the Titan II, and 1 for the Agena. Now here's the Agena liquid fuel tank, and it is meant to, I'm just going to kind of pop this down here, the probe core is meant to be sort of on top, and let's actually attach that to something, perfect, and then with the fuel tank right below it. And there you go, and inside you'll have 126 liquid fuel and 154 oxidizer. Very handy and very useful for the Agena. Now on to the Titan II fuel tanks. We have the second stage fuel tank first here, which is biggin', and this will hold 1,344 liquid fuel and 1,643 oxidizer, and is a pretty beautiful looking tank. I always do like when we have these sort of cylindrical outside with the bulbous inside. Very fun. I do quite like that design. And then we also have a larger primary stage fuel tank here for the Titan II, which is, boy, I'm gonna have to angle up there. There we go, perfect. Is big. In fact, it's slightly clipping into the ground. As you can see, it goes another couple of feet down. But here we go. We have the Kerbal States primary liquid fuel tank here, holding 2,520 liquid fuel and 3,080 oxidizer. And this will actually make it pretty far when you're launching the Titan II. It gets almost into space on this one alone, which is quite nice. And then you use the upper tank to get yourself into a good orbit. Very handy. Now into engines, we've got a couple in here. The first one is for the Agena. It is the PPS engine, which is the primary propulsion engine for the Agena target vehicle, made predominantly to kind of just keep it in its orbit. It's not the most powerful thing in the world, with a max of only 65 kilonewtons in vacuum, and will use liquid fuel and oxidizer at a rate of 1.53 and 1.86 respectively, and will have a 2.5 degree gimbling range. Always good. Now the next one we have is actually a Gemini service module meant for our capsule here, and it's a very beautiful thing. I love the shiny foil on the bottom side here, and this is a decoupler for the Gemini, as well as an engine using a monopropellant at a rate of 2 per second, roughly, to produce 20 kilonewtons of thrust max in a vacuum. It does also have RCS overall, as well as some science experiments. We have a mystery goo material bay and log temperature. And besides that, we also have 150 electric charge and 150 monopropellant. And this is really what you're going to be using to move around orbit and dock yourself with the Agena target vehicle. Very fun. Now, the next engine we're going to look at here is the primary engine for the Titan II, the GLV LR87. And it's a big boy with an odd attachment point. It's kind of like halfway down the engine there. And this baby, though, yeah, 856 kilonewtons maximum in a vacuum, and will use 26 liquid fuel per second and 32 oxidizer per second, with a vectoring range of 3%, and will also produce 2 electric charge per second. And it is a pretty cool and beautiful looking engine. Now the next one we have is the engine for the second stage of the Titan II, a much smaller little thing, but very nice nonetheless. And actually, I think I had it on the wrong attachment. Nope, that was on the correct attachment point. And this one has a 228 max kilonewtons of thrust in vacuum, and will use a 6.6 liquid fuel per second and 8 oxidizer, with 3 electric charge. No vectoring range on this one though, and that is because this is actually meant to be used with another engine. Now you'll notice when I take it off here, we've actually got a couple of attachment nodes up towards the top. The first one is where you attach the engine, and the second is where you attach this engine to, right there in the middle. And this baby only produces 30 kilonewtons of thrust in vacuum using 0.87 liquid fuel per second and 1 oxidizer, but has a 10 degree gimbling vector range, which is quite impressive. And it's just a little LR91 vernier engine to go along with your GLV LR91. Very nice combination, very cool looking, and actually together they do look quite beautiful. I love all the piping in there. Very nice design, a lot of good attention to detail. Very, very cool. So let's pop that one off and actually zoom back out and go to command and control, where we have a couple of things. The first one here is the primary sort of propulsion system. Well, actually, it's the secondary propulsion system, if I can actually read things, for the Agena, and this is meant to sort of go on the end of this. Actually, it should be over here. And if I very quickly go back to engines, this is where the Agena PPS is meant to go. There we are. So that's the primary engine, and that's the secondary engine there. And it also does have, of course, some built-in RCS. It does have little engines there and there, producing 20 kilonewtons of thrust in vacuum using monopropellant at a rate of 1.6 per second, and does hold 200 monopropellant, and overall is a very cool looking thing, and very shiny. And there's little lovely RCS ports there, the little engines, a very nice thing. I do enjoy it, especially because of the shininess. It is beautiful. But there we go. We then also have the Gemini capsule RCS thruster block, which is just an RCS thruster at 0.38 thruster power and holds 10 additional monopropellant, and that just goes right up on top there. Very handy to have. We then also have the Gemini retro adapter, which does hold a data transmitter decoupler engine producing 40 kilonewtons of thrust in vacuum using solid fuel at a rate of 2.472 per second. We then also have a light RCS, more RCS, and 25 solid fuel there. And this is meant to go right there at the back end of the Gemini. And then the service module we were looking at earlier goes below that. Very nice thing, and beautiful detailing again on the interior of this. Very, very cool. I do love it. Very nice. Now, beyond that, we also do have the Gemini OAMS, which is some more RCS engines, and I'm actually going to go back to the service adapter to grab it real quick, because the OAMS is meant to go down here on that service module to give you a bit more RCS range, so you got it up at the top and up at the bottom there as well, and just, you know, basic one thruster power, very handy. And the last thing is a Gemini SAS Horizon scanner, which is just meant to go at the base of the nose cone is what it says, which I'm guessing means there, but I mean, it could be a little bit further up, as there are more parts to the Gemini, which we'll get to momentarily. But yes, it's just an SAS for stability assist, etc. Very useful to have. We've got nothing in structural. We've got a couple of things in coupling, which is always good. The first of which we're going to look at is the Gemini docking nose cone, which goes right on top of the RCS block here, and is our just nice little docking node for the Gemini. And if we do extend the index bar there, perfect, to help you with your docking, and it's used in conjunction with the Agena docking cone, which is designed for, you know, soft docking. The cone will help you make your way into a good dock procedure there. And actually, I think I have it the wrong way around, but you'll notice that we have this little triangular notch cut out of the cone there. That is actually meant to work in conjunction, if I spin it around properly, with our little index bar that comes out of the docking nose cone. So you use that to help guide yourself in to a proper docking. And this, of course, is attached to the Agena probe core, and you'd be good to go from there. Now, beyond that, what we have in here is just a standard Gemini decoupler to go on the bottom of this baby right there to then attach to the Titan II. We also have a Agena decoupler, which will hold various parts of the Agena in place inside of it for safety during flight, and we also have an even bigger one for the Titan to protect the engine of the second stage, which, well, we'll just pop this one off and then put this one on. Beautiful. So that'll protect the second stage engine right there. Very nice, very handy. Now we have in payload an Agena fairing. Now this is meant to protect the docking nose cone. I'm actually going to grab this back here. So that's the Agena probe core, and then we'd have the docking nose cone there, and to protect the docking nose cone during flight, we would have the lovely fairings. Beautiful. And yes, the other fairing right here, the Agena decoupler, would be protecting the engine down at the bottom. Always handy. Now next we have aerodynamics, and that is a lovely little Gemini's nose cone cover to protect all of that stuff right there, and, you know, provide you with a little bit of, well, I guess it's just a separator with ejection force, but it looks quite nice and protects whatever the crap all that is there. Lovely. Nothing in ground. The thermal is, of course, the heat shield, which I have all this crap on, so we'll lose that. And pop on the heat shield right at the bottom of the Gemini. Perfect for re-entry. And then we have nothing in electrical, nothing in comms, nothing in science. And finally, we have utility, where we have the Gemini parachute, which just kind of, you know, attaches radially onto this thing. And I think it's supposed to go somewhere specific, but I honestly don't entirely know where it's supposed to go, because it has a node attachment point, as you can see, but it also has a radial attachment point. So I'm a little bit curious as to where exactly this is meant to go on this. I haven't been able to figure that out yet with a couple of hours of messing around with this mod, but still a lovely little parachute for you to use. Always handy, and a good idea generally to, you know, have a parachute. But yeah, so that is all of the parts, so let us actually load up a craft, and I have made a full Gemini launch with the Titan II attached. Ooh, zoom out, there we are. So we have the primary stage with its main engine down here. We then have the secondary stage being protected by that fairing with the engine in there, and then the full Gemini capsule with all of its goodies up top. Very good, very fun. There we go. Let's save and go to the launch pad. and it is a pretty wonderful little rocket. Well, actually, it's not exactly little. It is somewhat large, in fact. Now, let's take a look at the interior that we have for Gemini and Bill here. We do have a lovely view on inside. Lots of great switches and things, and we've got food and science equipment. We've got our flight plan, just everything you could need in this lovely capsule. Let's switch over. Whoops, nope, wrong button. I always do that. I always hit the wrong one when I'm trying to view between these guys. There we go, and there is the other side of the cockpit. Lovely. We got our good camera over there, and of course the all-important abort mission button. Good times indeed, and just a very well-made interior. I gotta hand it to Silent Velcro. He does make some cool interiors. But yes, there we are. That is that. So let's actually, what the heck, launch this thing. And we'll actually get it into space. That shouldn't take too long to get it into an orbit-ish of a thing. Something fell off. What just fell off the side? I'm not sure, but I saw something slide off the back. Well, it wouldn't be a Kottabos launch if something didn't go terribly, terribly wrong. But yes, beautiful, beautiful rocket. I do enjoy the look of this thing. Very nice. I do like the gaps there. I don't know exactly how aerodynamic that would be in the real world, but cool nonetheless. And that is that protective fairing, of course, for the second stage engine. And the first stage one doing its job pretty nicely. It is quite a powerful thing. We're only down to about half fuel now, and we've already made it up 5 kilometers, which is always good, and we've made it to, yeah, roughly, I guess, a third of the way up the atmosphere-ish. And so, yeah, it's a very, very wonderful thing. We're going to actually have to probably start making a turn here soon. Yeah, I mean, we could probably just, you know what, I'm actually just going to launch this thing straight up, see what happens, see how high we can go on just a straight launch. I don't know why, but it seems like the thing to do. And I always that's a way I always test my rockets. I see how high I can go just pointing straight up. And then if I can get really, really high, I know that I can very easily make it into an orbit, which I already know that this can make it into an orbit easily, as I've launched several of these Geminis up so far. All have gone very well indeed. And a very, very nice rocket. You know what? No, we're actually going to start turning. Alright, we're going to drop that and start the other engines. There we go. Beautiful. Excellent. Oh boy. We lose a little bit of control on this one. It gets a little wobbly on this stage. But you know what? We've gone up pretty high. We're at 40 kilometers already, so I'm just going to go straight 90 degrees over here. I think that'll be perfect. Good, good. Oh God. Come on. Come on. There we go. This is probably one of the worst launches I've ever done, but it was intentional. Well, no, it wasn't. Like I said, we were going to launch straight up, but then I decided at the last minute, what the heck, let's actually go for an orbit, which still should be quite easy, even with me screwing things up a bit. There we go. We're already at an apoapsis of 87,000 meters, and there is the Agena, which I put into orbit as well, which we'll take a look at momentarily. And yeah, let's just see how long it takes us to get this this burn going. We've got a good hold there, so let's just do a little time acceleration. Beautiful. Beautiful. And we'll go all the way up to 4 times. What the heck? See how many... Yeah, actually, we might not get a full orbit out of this one with my poor piloting today and deciding to switch between a straight launch and a orbiting... Well, no, actually, we might be good still. We might be good. And... Oh, yeah, we're good. A little bit of engine fuel left, which we could always use to actually round out the orbit once we're up here, but I really don't care about that. That is our lovely Gemini launched from a Titan II rocket with fuel left. If you did a proper actual launch with that thing, you could very, very easily get into orbit with this. I've been having no trouble getting to 200,000 meter orbits with the Titan II with no issues whatsoever when you actually pay attention to proper flying. Now with this, we're going to be at about 170,000 with doing crappy flying. if I, again, did want to equalize our orbit there, which we would easily be able to do with what fuel we have left. And we even still have, you know, other stages here with monopropellant fuel, etc. But let's actually go to the map and ignore this for now and actually go and take a look at the Agena over here. Switch to, oh boy, we're about to go into the dark though, not the best of times. And I left on the fairings on this so you could see them release. There we go. And what we have here, I actually probably should have started with that retracted. And there we are. We have a lovely little thing that we can pop out the antenna right there. So if we pop that, perfect. And there we go. We have a good antenna. We have the lovely docking port here for the soft dockings. And of course, a little engine over here for making sure this thing stays beautifully in orbit. It's a fun little combination. I do enjoy the Gemini capsule. It is fun. And I always love the idea of these sort of soft docking cones. You know, the early days when we were still learning how to do stuff. Very, very nice to have that little bit of extra help. And yeah, overall, just a very cool little system. Let's actually start up the engine on this and screw up its orbit. There we go. Perfect. All right, just so you guys can see the engine flame on that. Very good. And yeah, a fun mod overall, full of a lot of interesting parts, and always cool again to see these historical bits and bobs and, you know, where we came from in our days of spaceflight. And plus, like I said, with the Titan II in this one, you can use that in the mod we looked at last episode to launch the dinosaur. But yeah, that is really it for this episode. I think not much else I can show you. We could try to dock, but yeah. It's with me, guys. It would take too long. So, if you would like to check out this mod yourself, and I would definitely suggest that you go and do that, you can take a look at the link in the description, as per usual. But, yeah, that's really going to be it for today. I hope you all have enjoyed, and of course that you do come back for the next. But until that time, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good one. Now let's put this thing out of control. Later, folks.